What's up, A-Push comrades? We're back at you today to talk about culture and entertainment in the 1950s. So one of the biggest parts of 1950s culture was like the rise of Hollywood. So with the rise of Hollywood came the end of the studio system, or film's golden age. Just like trust-busting efforts in the decades before, the Supreme Court case of U.S. versus Paramount ruled that vertical integration violated antitrust laws, so a studio couldn't control production, distribution, and exhibition. One reason that films became more widely available was because they could reach international markets after the war. Although there's this big rise in the film industry, there are people in the United States government trying to stop it, specifically the HUAC and McCarthy. The infamous Hollywood blacklist affected over 300 people. Some were banned from ever working in Hollywood again, while others assumed aliases. As far as film technology goes, large screens and 3D movies were developed during the 1950s, which gave moviegoers a brand new experience, and were hip with the teens. Studios made horror films and used stars such as Elvis to appeal to teens. They also made topical spy films and sci-fi movies to capitalize on the Red Scare and the fear of nuclear war. A few of the most popular of the movies from the 1950s include Sing in the Rain, Vertigo, Cinderella, Godzilla, and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Spooky. While plenty of people were rolling up to the movie theaters, a whole new form of entertainment was completely accessible right from the comfort of people's own homes. Television! It had been around since the 1920s, but only limited wealthy households owned in the 40s. The post-war economic boom allowed almost half of all homes in the United States to have TVs. One of the most popular programs on these newfangled televisions were sitcoms that often showed happy white nuclear families. These consisted of happy housewives, smart breadwinners, and children that got into wacky hijinks but came home smiling at the end of the day. They reinforced American values against the Cold War, such as individualism and family, but also conformity with the idea of the nuclear family. Besides sitcoms, networks also had variety or game shows, soap operas, talk shows, medical dramas, adventure series, and cartoons for the kids. This was some of the first entertainment that was aimed directly at kids. Shows such as the Mickey Mouse Club provided entertainment for even the littlest ones. However, most of these shows only featured white actors and actresses because they didn't want to offend Southern viewers where segregation was still present. Also, TV producers assumed that whites wouldn't be interested in watching shows about minorities. There were a few exceptions though. I Love Lucy featured her real-life Hispanic husband, and variety shows like The Nat King Cole Show and The Ed Sullivan Show often featured black performers. Elvis also appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show on January 6, 1957, and was only shown from the waist up on his notorious third performance because it was vulgar. Is that why we're only filming from the waist up? Overall, the spreading of television throughout the country contributed to a massive common culture. Another big part of the 1950s, and especially consumer culture, was advertising. Because you can't have TV without commercials nowadays. Credit was easy to come by, and corporations were constantly promoting the American dream because products defined the 50s. Some of these products include detergent, cigarettes, vacuums, and fridges, which may seem like normal items to us, but were huge technological advancements in the 1950s. These de-emphasized class differences while also reinforcing traditional gender roles. Just like some of the essential oil multi-level marketing schemes we have today, there were Tupperware parties with promotions and rewards, which filled the household desire for consumer goods. Wait, you're telling me that the essential oils, that's a scam? Oh shoot, I gotta go! Another major part of 50s entertainment and culture was the rise of sports. The most popular sports were baseball, boxing, football, and golf. The Yankees just couldn't stop winning, and football emerged as a serious sport with the creation of the NFL. The NBA had some difficulty growing, and the NHL only had 6 teams and didn't really garner much interest outside of those cities. Lucky for us, our Detroit Red Wings were part of the original 6 hockey teams formed in the 1950s. As far as big-scale sports, the Olympics were more focused on national pride in the Cold War and not athletic competition. On the more laid-back side of things, new art was developing as the world recovered from war. Abstract Expressionism was a new form of painting that had 2 subcategories. Action painting was based on the act itself. Think Jackson Pollock's famous color splatters, while color fields focused on the emotions in the color. Mark Rothko was a famous artist in this field.
All look just the same. And the people.
Another major art form in the 1950s was sculpture. Sculptures used steel and other materials combined to make real, tangible pieces of art. Steel really emerged here in sculptures because of the excess from the war.
Doctors and lawyers and business executives, and they're all made out of tickets.
And if you can't afford to go see a museum, there's plenty to do in daily life. Cheaper alternatives to most 50s recreation were the sock hops that took place at local schools and drive-in theaters.
Dry, and they all have pretty children, and the children.
As far as food goes, gelatin molds weren't just for dessert. People put fruits, nuts, marshmallows, vegetables, and even meat in gelatin.
Where they are put in boxes, and they
Ugh.
come out all the same.
Housewife's revenge.
And the boys-
Soda fountains were also an important place for teens and young adults alike to get a cool drink and just hang out with their friends. And they were the highlight of any decent diner.
And they all look just the same. There's a pink one.
Overall, there was a much greater variety of entertainment to consume than ever before. This led for a need not only to conform to society's standards, but also to break free from the standards that people felt were thrust upon them. This led to the Beat movement, which started in artistic communities in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and New York City. Although it originally meant weary, it grew into a movement that can only be described as beatific, or blissfully happy. They had a uniform style, their own mannerisms, and they used jazz lingo. Another thing that defined the Beat movement were drugs, jazz, sexual freedom, Buddhism for individual freedom, and they were also apolitical.
Little boxes on the.
We're gonna finish this off by teaching you all the hip slang. If you're cool, you're a cat or a daddy-o. If you're not hip, you're a drip. You'll get a big tickle from someone who makes you laugh. But if someone ticks you off, they're cruising for a bruising. Be sure to check out our videos about 1950s economics, social, and political issues. Good luck on the exam in May, and remember you are more than just a number. Peace. Bye.
All went to the university where they were put in boxes.